Nowadays, it's short form. Tomorrow, it's another thing. Whatever it is, it's still the same basic psychology principle. People need to know you and they need to trust you. Nothing makes sense for anything you do in life if you don't have a why behind it. Why do you want to make content should be very clear to you, no one else. And so whenever I make content, I try to map out what are the problems and pain points that my ideal viewer has. I have a saying that in small bites, people eat more.
So good to have you on the first episode of the podcast, Aviv. So
for having me.
Thank you very much for coming. It's a bit strange because we decided to start this podcast very recently. We talked about it together, and I wanted to make this podcast for the simple reason that we have a lot of users at Submagic asking themselves a lot of questions about short form content, and some of them ask us like, David, could you tell us what is the best advice for doing this or this or this around short form content? And because we are in touch with a lot of short form content creators, agency owners, entrepreneurs that master short form content for themselves, I said, because I have access to those guys, I should interview them and sharing this knowledge with all the community at Submagic. So that's why we are here today for the first episode. So thank you for coming. Before we start, simple question, but I think it's important that you present yourself, who you are, why are you here on this podcast today?
So yeah, my name is Aviv Ben Or. I started as a video producer. I had my own video production company back in 2015 and later transitioned into what I do today, which is an online coaching program for filmmakers. I also consult brands like e-com brands and startup companies on how to make high converting video ads and better converting content at the end of the day. A lot of times people think that ads is one thing and content is another, and I don't distinguish between the two. I think you always have a goal to convert the viewer to something. It can be a sale, it can be an emotion, it can be whatever you want them to convert to, and that's why we do videos for.
Exactly. And I think we can talk about how we met each other, because so a little bit of the background of the story, but I met Aviv because at Submagic we were looking for a creative strategist. We were struggling with content creation for our own content, and I found you on Instagram. You were making some really, really nice piece of content, and I reached out to you and say would you be able to advise us on how we can improve our strategy and stuff like that. So, and because I saw that Aviv was really good in content, he has a way of seeing things, I would say, differently than most of people. And because you have a lot of experience teaching people how to make good content, I think it's very, very valuable. So yeah, that's the meeting we had.
Yeah, just before we start, so people have a bit of context as for my past a bit. So when it comes to video productions and how to make better converting videos, I started as just doing videos for clients, some general promotional videos for everyday businesses, B2B. And later on, that transitioned within the years to consulting. And over the years, I worked with more than 100 brands, between them Intel, EY, L'Oreal, Adidas, Philips, many more. And with the sole goal of what I told you, which is helping them convert the viewer with videos. And throughout that journey, I made that process of ideation to production to delivery so many times. And when you do this so many times, you notice certain patterns and you see what works for the client and what not. Because a lot of those deals that I worked with clients are deals that are success-based. Meaning if I don't bring them success, most of the time was sales, not always, then I'm not getting paid. So I always needed to make sure I deliver. Otherwise, I don't get paid. And that thing put me into a position where I need to do my best before going into shooting to prepare everything so I maximize my chances of success. A lot of times it didn't work. But that's repetition and error and learning from error and what works, what not, that got me into making better and better and better videos.
So you will be able to share that with the people today, maybe?
Yes, of course.
That's great.
Like a small intro into
what I wanted to talk today, maybe for the viewers who will listen that, I want to talk about content creation process that you learn, mistakes to avoid when you start content creation. I want to talk as well about the short form content in general. What is this content piece? What is the benefit of it? How can we use it? Everyone can use it for themselves compared to maybe emailing or cold calling, because a lot of people use short form for businesses, like business use case. And I want to talk about as well the future of the short form content. Do you want to add something about what we want to discuss today?
No, let's just dive right in.
Cool.
Whatever people want to hear.
Let's start with the content creation process. I think it's important. Everyone has the same trouble. I have this trouble as well, like about like how you create a good piece of content. How do you come up with like ideas of creating piece of contents?
Well, first of all, now I'm doing content in like the second round that I'm trying to do content. I've only been consistent this time. The first time I tried to make content, I said like, yeah, let's give it a try, see how it goes. Nothing planned, no systems, just like me and my hunch. And whenever I want to make content, I will. The thing is, it only works for a certain degree, and you only make content when you feel like it and when you have good ideas. That's the problem with going on a limb and just trying to make it on the fly and say, if it works, I'll continue. I'll commit. That was my first mindset. If it works, I'll commit.
Was it a good one?
No, it doesn't work.
And do you think a lot of people are doing this, think this way when they start content?
I don't know, but I know that that's how I used to think.
Okay.
And it's not a good way. I thought the same way when I used to run ads on Facebook. Let's do those shitty ads. If it works, then I'll put more money into Facebook. But guess what? It won't work if you put shitty ads, right? You need to commit before you commit. So that was a long time ago. Then I went traveling. When I went back, I said, you know what? Something in my mind shifted a bit. And I said, let's commit to this. Let's commit and let's do it systematically. Meaning, when you commit to something, what is committing to something? It's doing the thing even if you don't want to do that. Like you have a boss that tells you.
Create a discipline, like a routine about content.
Yeah. And I know you ask how I come up with ideas.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you about discipline. But it ties, I promise you. This second round, when I decided to do this, I said, I'm gonna do it properly. I want to make at least 5 pieces of content a week, come up with ideas, shoot and edit on the same day for the whole week. And at the beginning, it wasn't that easy, but slowly and surely, it became a part of just my weekly routine. And now it's really hard for me imagining my week without making content. And so I think it's first of all getting into the habit. Once you get into the habit, everything becomes easier, including coming up with ideas.
Do you think people should ask themselves why they want to create content before like even...
Oh, 100%. Nothing makes sense for anything you do in life if you don't have a why behind it. So why do you want to make content should be very clear to you, no one else. If you don't have a strong why, you won't continue. And so my why was my coaching program. I'm having a hard time selling it through ads for a long time. And it's funny, like I'm the ads guy and I'm having a hard time selling it. I'm not going to go into why that happens, but a lot of my colleagues told me over the years, you got to make content, you got to make content, you got to make content. And I was avoiding it for a million reasons. And finally I decided, you know what? Let's listen to what they say. Worst case, I'll stop a year from now or whatever. But let's just try this thing for an extended period of time. Because I want to try and bring sales from this for my coaching program and for my consulting services.
Okay.
So the only reason I made content was for making sales.
And how did you know that content could bring sales to you? Like, who told you that?
You don't have to be so smart. Just look at your competitors and what they're doing. Okay, you don't have to invent the wheel. Just look at what your competitors are doing. Just do the same. Great.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. The second thing is, look, it all ties back to basic human psychology. Because nowadays it's short form, tomorrow it's another thing, whatever it is, it's still the same basic psychology principle, which is people need to know you and they need to trust you.
To buy something.
Yeah.
To buy from you.
I don't care for views. I don't care for engagement. I don't care for any of that. The only thing I care for is actually making sales. And you do that through what? Getting people to know you and trust you. Overall, it also builds my personal brand and whatnot. But I didn't care for the long-term thing. I cared for like the here and now.
So if we summarize quickly, you wanted to make some sales for your training, like
for the training and the consulting thing.
For the training and the consulting.
Yeah.
And you knew that if you want to make some sales, you need to have the trust from the clients, right? You need to build trust with them before selling.
Yes.
And to build trust, you say, how can I build trust with them? Content is the solution, right?
100%.
And so that's how you came up with the why you should create content, because you want to build trust to sell your program at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, especially because selling an online program, it's online programs for some reason, because there's no barrier of entry, there's a lot of cons and fakes out there.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
And so people have this automatic suspicion of you.
But it's a scam, about everything like that.
Yeah. They think automatically, like you're selling a scam or something, right? And I'm not blaming them.
Because there are so many scams.
There are so many out there. It's not like you're going to uni.
Yeah.
Like if you ask somebody to pay $5,000 on an online course, it's like, oh my God. But if you ask them to go into that for like a $50,000 for uni, they're like, yeah, okay, makes sense.
Doesn't make sense.
right?
Not rational.
The thing is, it's because they trust unis.
Yeah.
They're not gonna, they trust them. That's the factor. That's the freaking factor. You would buy anything from your mom.
Exactly.
Because you trust her.
Yeah.
You don't have to see reviews. It's your mom. She tells you, buy this, you're going to buy that. And so, long story short, trust. Freaking trust.
Trust is the base.
Is the key.
I think it's interesting because so many people at Some Magic are in your position. They try to sell something online. They try to sell a program or training or consulting things. We have so many coaches. And so they have to understand that they need to build trust before selling something.
Yeah, 100%.
And to build trust, content is a fabulous idea.
Yeah.
Because you can bring values to people they can know you without even jumping on a call with them, even without contacting them. They will see your content in front of them without asking it. Like, that's the point.
Yeah, just one last word about it. It's like Gary Vee used to say, it's like give value before you ask.
Yeah, that's so true. Let's continue. So you find your why.
Yeah.
And then you say everything was just simpler after that.
No, nothing is simple, but everything is simple, but not easy. So yeah, I found my why, right? So the why is the fuel in the tank. You cannot drive without the why. Great. You have your why. Now the plan.
Just one thing, how people can find their why regarding content easily? Like what kind of question could they ask themselves?
Just ask yourself, why are you doing this?
Yeah, but it's easy to say, but it's difficult to find. Like
why? Why is it difficult to find? 99% of people will say it. We'll get to the conclusion, which is making sales.
Yeah.
Some people want to entertain and to get fame. I don't think we're in the business of entertaining and getting fame. We're in the business of making sales, and obviously you're going to build a personal brand through it. But nobody builds this personal brand for the sake of building a personal brand just for it. Hey, here's my brand. No, everybody just want to make a living. It's a great way.
Is there any creators you were looking for when you started that helps you like start a routine of like
Alex Hormozi. That's it.
Why Alex Hormozi?
Because he was just so straightforward and so simple. That's what I love about him, right? If you look at my content, there's no edit. It's just like cuts, but no edit, no flashy stuff, no nothing.
Captions, of course.
Yeah, captions. But what I mean is you won't see flashy effects and music and stuff that distract you from the message that I'm trying to convey. Now, usually content is, you can split it into two, entertain, like for entertaining purposes or educational purposes. I do educational.
So there is two types of content
that I can think of. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, look, I'm not some super guru content expert. I'm just talking from my small experience. So yeah, I think you can split it into two, which is entertaining and educational.
Okay.
When you see something entertaining, you don't have to think. You just shut off your brain, and there's no rules. Just make people laugh, make people feel, make people whatever. Usually through entertainment, you don't look to give value, right? The only value is like make you laugh. Okay, it does. By the way, there's no evidence from what I've seen that making somebody laugh equals sales. And so I see a lot of ads that are trying to make people laugh, and they will share it, and you'll have great engagement on that ad, being that on social or TV, but it does not translate into sales. You can build your brand image, great, but don't expect performance from that specific ad directly, in my experience. And so the other avenue is education. And the goal of an education piece, may that be 10 seconds or 10 hours, is to give somebody value. Usually solves them problem that they experience. And so whenever I make content, I try to map out what are the problems and pain points that my ideal viewer have. I don't look for the numbers of followers and viewers, because I know I can make a great business from a small number of followers, but that I give ton of value to. Right? And so usually when I make content, I'll divide it into, let's say, 80% super high value for my current audience, and then 20% I will broaden it a bit top of funnel, to attract more new audience.
Okay. Can you give an example?
Yeah. So the 80% will be specific, super niched content around a specific problem my target audience have. So for example, my target audience are solo videographers or small video production companies who make between 3 to 5K a month, and they want to grow beyond that, but they don't know how. That's my target audience. And so I ask myself, what are the problems they're facing? And a small tip here, it's not by guessing.
It's by asking.
It's by asking. So I have tons of questionnaire and research over my target audience. I think I have around 300 to 400 people answered my questionnaires about their problems. And so I have a really good understanding of who they are. And it's such a crucial thing to understand, because if you're making content for one audience, and you're thinking that they want one thing, but you're actually making content that's not for them, you're not going to attract them. And the algorithm will know this, right? And so he will direct your content in another path. The targeting is done through the creative, not in any technical way, not through hashtags and stuff. Like what you say, like if you talk to, hey, golf lovers, and you make content for 6 months about golf lovers, the algorithm will take you to them.
That's very interesting.
Right? And so you want to talk to your audience.
And that's a shift. In content creation, it has been achieved, because before, when you were on YouTube, like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you had to look for what you wanted to watch,
Yeah,
on the search bar.
100%. By the way, what I'm saying, sorry for interrupting, what I'm saying is only, it's also applicable in ads.
Yeah, in ads
not
as well.
Just in content.
Yeah, before in ads as well, you had to segment whatever you're looking for, etc. Now you can let the algorithm do the job. They will know like what kind of people will be attracted to your ads, and it will be even better than any kind of adjustment or whatever. But very interesting things. And you say to me something that stick in my brain was, first things you should ask yourself is like, why people should listen to you and not someone else. And because there are so much distraction, so much people to watch on the short form content on the ads, why they should listen to you.
Yeah, so if you noticed, I didn't start to talk in this podcast before I gave people a short background, right? Like I've worked with 100 brands, like I name drop like Intel, Ernst Young, L'Oreal, Adidas, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And the only reason I've done that is not to flex, is for the viewer to justify for themselves why they should listen to me.
And why they should spend time listening to
Exactly.
you. Because their time have value. And,
exactly. It's like, imagine if you're walking on the street and a homeless guy try to give you financial advice. You're like, well, what do you want, bro? Or like somebody fat trying to give you advice on how to lose weight. That's the same thing. And so one of the most important things, like you can say the most profound things in your content. If people don't have a frame of why they should listen to you, it doesn't work.
That's so true in life in general, in everything.
Yeah.
In everything. We take advice from people that we trust, and how I can trust you without even like knowing you is just what are you doing, like who you are. And my intuition will tell me if I should trust you or not instantly, like directly. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And then you tell me something else. You tell me about, when I see short form content, I see so much people trying to make more and more and more editing, very flashy editings everywhere. I'm tired of that. Yeah, to be honest. And that's a magic. We aim to like push up our users to use some simple things, simple edit, easy captions, just a good cut, a clean audio, no silence between scenes, something very like straightforward, as you said, is enough to make good piece of content. Of course, you can add some stuff, you can add some images, some illustrations, some B-rolls. It's good, but you don't have to. Some people overuse it. And I think it's difficult to first understand what you're looking for and what you're listening, and you don't know if you need to focus on the aspects of the video or on the content itself. And then you told me about something regarding what is a good piece of content, how you can know if this piece of content is good or not good.
Yeah, so first of all, we want to define what's a good piece of content. I think it's hard to measure one by one all the time. You can do 100 pieces of content, and then it's much easier to look back and see, okay, which one worked, which one didn't, to what degree. Let's say you define what is a good piece of content for you, whether it's bringing engagement, bringing inbound leads, making people share, whatever you decide for your business is good piece of content. And then what are the things that contribute the most to that piece of content being good? And I can tell you from personal experience, most of the time, it's not about the fluff, and the fluff being the quality of the shots, of the camera, the quality of the surrounding, like, how do you say it, the studio or whatever you're in. It's not about the flashy effects. It's not about the B-rolls, in my opinion, and from my experience, it's about how well did the message get across. You know, imagine if you're standing in front of a judge or a jury and you want to make a case. Did what you say convince the judge on your point? So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, did you make the case? Now, you can use tools to help you convey that message. I'm talking about a story of a man walked in the street, and I have a B-roll of that man actually walking in the street that helps me convey the story, right?
Yes.
But if it doesn't help me convey the story, then I will take it out. A good editor takes out more than they put in. Bad editor, and I think it goes to a lot of stuff, design also, and all those things. A good editor puts his eye on the prize, which is the content. A good piece of content should work on paper before it goes on screen. always. And it goes to short form and it goes all the way to Hollywood movies. It should work on paper before it goes on screen.
That's why a lot of movies are, first of all, they are books.
Yes.
And if the books is great, they make a movie from it.
And usually it's shit.
Because that's very interesting. So a good piece of content should be good on paper first.
Should work on paper.
Should work on paper. Okay. How can I create good piece of content on paper? And how you craft your ideas, how you write down. This is very difficult. Like, I think it's the worst part.
I think once you have the right framework, it becomes easier. And so the framework is as follows. First of all, you want to understand why you do content, right?
Okay.
Great. Then you want to understand who do you talk to? You define who do you talk to. Then you want to understand, after you research them, you actually talk to them. You don't have to talk to 300 like I did. It's enough to talk to around 5 to 10 of them to get a grip, right? And what you want to have from them is an understanding of their pain points. And you can make a list out of it. Once you know what...
We list the pain point.
We list the pain points.
Okay.
And then out of those pain points, all your ideas will come. I promise. A lot of them will come. And so my process is, creativity has no itinerary. It doesn't have a schedule. That's what I'm trying to say. And ideas can come up to me like 2 a.m. or when I'm juggling, running, in the gym, whatever it is.
Yes,
and
even now.
Yeah. And so I always make sure I have somewhere to take notes of ideas.
Okay.
A lot of ideas actually come when I scroll short form content, and then I save them somewhere so I can pick it up on Monday when I'm making content. And then when Monday comes, I have like 2 hours of writing time. And in those 2 hours of writing time, I still develop my process. But sometimes I will do like word to word. Sometimes I will do points. And sometimes I will just go on a limb. Easier for me to go on a limb on subjects.
What is a limb?
Just like from the hip.
Okay.
So easier for me is talking about stuff that I lived through, obviously, and have really, really deep personal experience. Stuff that are harder for me are a lot of times I love to tell stories because people remember stories. And so I did this one story about a cereal company that did this amazing marketing trick, and it got like 200K views, if not more. But in order to do that piece of content, which again, all of them are short form, no more than 90 seconds. In order to do that piece of short form, I had to read the story in several places to form a story in my head, an understanding of exactly what happened. Why? Because I didn't want to write a word by word. I want stuff to come naturally to me on camera, and I want the viewer to actually see me thinking like this, not because I'm faking it, because I'm actually thinking at the moment, reminding you, what's my goal? To build trust. You don't build trust if you're fake. So how am I being authentic? By actually being myself and telling the story through me, not through somebody else. And so when I told that story, although I did it in bullet points and told it in my own words, I rehearsed that like 2-3 times. And then I did like 3-4 takes. And then the 4th take was the best one. And so all in all, it was like 8 takes. And people look at it and say, man, this like comes naturally to you. And it's like so easy to you. No, it's not.
So it's not easy even for you, as you are doing that since
No,
years.
and people don't know this, but I was an actor for 2 years.
Okay.
I have that experience in front of the camera. And it still is not easy. Yeah. But the thing is, the more you do it, the more you don't see the camera. Like right now, I'm so used to this. I don't see the camera anymore. It's just a conversation between you and me.
It's an easy framework to reproduce for anyone. Like anyone can take your advice and start creating their own framework linked to what you say. It's easy.
Yeah, it's about frameworks more than being creative. Yeah. And there's a great quote from Alex Hormozi that he says that people need to be reminded more than they need to be taught. When I teach someone or I give them value about an educational piece, my original thinking is that, man, I've talked about this before. I can't say it again. No, I should say it 5, 10, 20 more times. Tell me, how many times have you, when you hire an employee or when you try to explain something to someone, how often is that you just explain it once and then they get it?
No, never.
Right? So you need to repeat stuff. And so this goes for people who are afraid to give value and that they will run out of ideas.
You can just repeat it in a different way.
Repeat it even in the same way.
Yeah, that's very true. Like for me, communication is the art of the repetition. So a good communicator is just an art of repeating what you said multiple times in different ways. Some people might think like content is not for me because I'm not a creative person. You don't have to be a creative person to create content, I would say today. Just if you follow this framework about asking you why you should create content, why people should listen to you, and then talking to the people you are trying to sell something, like basic question about what are the pains, what are they facing, like survey, easy. Talk to them, listen to them more than more than you talk. And then when you have the problem they are facing, what kind of content could you create to answer those problems they have? And you have your ideas.
Exactly. And another way to find out your target audience pain points is just going through your competitors' content and see the comments and what people are asking. And these are great ideas for content.
And also it can be like, look at your competitors, see the content they make, see the one that perform well, and there watch it and say how you can do this piece of content, but with your own sauce or with your own ideas as well, or some different things that you can add over it. This could be like an easy way to start, I would say. Now I would like to talk about the industry of the short form content. I heard like recently that YouTube Shorts was 50 billion views a day. What is your thought about the short form in general compared to the long form content? How do you see things evaluate in the next couple of years?
I have no idea how it will, how the evolution will go. No idea. But I think that the difference between short and long is that I have a saying that in small bites, people eat more.
In small bite, people eat more. And the small bite, is it the short form?
Yes.
Okay.
So think about yourself. When you binge watch Netflix, 20 to 40 minute episode, you can find yourself spending 3 hours.
Yes, that's true.
But watching in a movie for 3 hours.
So hard.
No. What's the difference?
I can try. I can try something. Yeah. I didn't ask myself this question, but it's very interesting. I think when you consume small piece of content, you have this feeling of success more quickly. Like either doing like one marathon in one way, let's do like 1 kilometer every day. Like, and you have this feeling about like you succeed. You have more dopamine quickly, than doing one big things in one way. It's difficult for the brands to do big things directly, I would say.
So let's start from the viewer perspective. It's harder to consume big chunks. If it's physical, if it's digital, it's hard to consume big stuff, right? Even if you just look at a piece of paper or a presentation and you see a page with a lot of stuff written on it, I don't know about you, but me, I'm like, I'm not even starting. Like, I don't want to read that. But if I have like one slide with one sentence, I can go through million slides. The difference is I'm not overwhelmed. It's about being overwhelmed, I think, and how people perceive that piece of consumable, being that digital or being a piece of something you eat. So think about like snacking in front of the TV as well. People can snack for hours, way more calories, and they don't even like notice that versus like one big meal. It's the same thing. So I really believe people eat more in small chunks.
Okay. Now that we know that people eat more small chunks than big chunks, what link can we do with short form content?
Okay, so basically, I'll just tell you my strategy. My end goal is to convert people into customers, obviously. If I had like a magic wand, I just do like swish and they trust me completely. I don't have that magic wand. And so I need them to trust me. The first easier way to consume my stuff is short. The next level after that is long. The reason is trust is built. They say, I think that the average trust is built on when somebody consumes several hours of you. Right. I don't know how much. Might be 7. I'm not sure. Anyway, they need to consume some level of you before they trust you. Now, if that piece of content is, let's say, continuous, it's even better. But it's hard for people because it's overwhelming. They see a thumbnail for an hour video. Okay, I'll put it aside and I will watch it someday, and someday never comes. So that's why people take a lot of long form and make it into short form. And so these are like trailers for the long thing. So a lot of times what I would do, I would take my long form, chunk it into small stuff, put it in my shorts and tell people, hey, the long form is over there. And the reason is, again, building that trust through longer time periods so they can like just hang out with me. If that was up to me, I would only do short form. Doing long form content is not easy as a content creator.
So you use short form to attract people to long form and to build more trust.
Yeah, but it's not a must.
Yeah, it's not a must.
It's not a must. The thing about long form is that shelf life is higher. Like people can come on your YouTube channel, see other videos. Just the way people consume content on YouTube, they can even be popped on a video from a year ago, which in Instagram, everything gets buried down.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I don't like that too much because in a way, you lose your real estate. Like people won't go that deep into your Instagram. Nobody does that.
Yeah.
And so on YouTube, it's a bit different.
Very interesting. We realize that's a magic. I tell you my opinion that the short form content, this new media, starting like 6 or 7 years ago, 8 years ago with TikTok, is the most powerful way to sell something to people when you start any kind of business today, or even if you have a big business. It's the most powerful way because of three things. First, it's cost effective. It's cheap to create content, like especially short form content, just your phone, your camera, and you can create a piece. Editing is easy. You can use some software like some Magic or any other software, but it's easy to edit content. And then you can reach millions of people without having millions of followers. Before with YouTube, you couldn't do that. You remember at the beginning when you start a YouTube channel, you have to build your subscriber base. And then
I can, if I have 0 followers right now on Instagram and I put a piece of content, I can reach a lot of people.
Yes, of course. You don't agree with that?
No, I don't know that.
You don't.
I'm not like an algorithm expert.
So you never saw on TikTok. You never had this experience about like posting a video and one day your video is making like 500k views
on TikTok. I don't know.
On TikTok, on Instagram, it works the same way.
Okay.
Like for example, on Instagram at Submagic yesterday, we had 8,000 followers. Yesterday we posted videos. Most of the time, the short form content videos we produce make around like 2 to 5k views. Yesterday we post one. She made like 20k views in one day, and we don't have 20k followers. So you can reach a bigger audience without having like huge amount of followers. So that's a very that gives the chance to anyone to reach a lot of people. And you know what is the price to pay to reach like millions of people on ads? It's very expensive. And you can have it for free. Just create a good piece of content, share it, and if the algorithm likes it or if the people likes it, you will be able to be in front of a lot of people. So I think it's
but let me ask you this. Like if it's if making content is all pluses, no minuses, and you can get a lot of clients for free very fast, why don't people do that? Why did it took me years before I did it? I have the answer. I just want you to
Okay, let me think about it. I think it's first of all, it's hard. It's a new way, it's a new thing.
But making ads is also hard. So I'm asking this in the perspective from the perspective of someone who's looking into two options to bring in clients, ads or content. And for years, I chose ads. Why didn't I choose content?
Because it's much more easy to just go on ads and spend like monies on ads and you get some views. Do you think it's easier to think about all the process you did, like the framework, asking your clients what are their issues, create the piece of content, stuff like that, or just create an ad to say like, hey, I'm selling that and I'm going to spend like $1,000 a day to reach millions of people. Which one do you think is the easiest?
The process of making the content is probably the same process I'm using for ads
today, but most of the people.
But I learned that the hard way. Yeah. So I thought that ads could work just like that, but without research, it cannot work. So research goes into both. It doesn't matter if I do paid media or organic content.
Yes.
The problem is, I'll tell you my answer. I don't know other people's answers, but when it comes to ads, my perception is I just put $1, I get $2 back immediately, and I can run. When it comes to content, there's a big question mark of, first of all, when will it work? Because I don't have any followers. I don't have anything, right? I can be a CEO of a big company, but there's no followers. Who's even gonna watch this thing? Nonetheless, about the production side. And then the second thing is, okay, let's say I make content and I see views. How the hell does this translate into sales? And so this big question mark prevented me from doing sales content for years.
Yeah, because you were not believing in that. You did not have the belief.
It's first of all not knowing how the hell that, like, technically I can do that, and then believing. And so I think if I had somebody force me to do that and show me how it works for the same business in their business step by step, I would do that much earlier.
So I hope what you share today will help people that start selling coaching or consulting training start their own piece of content as well.
Yeah, I think we need to understand what prevents people from doing it.
That the belief is really important. Like they don't believe that this will bring them sales, and they don't. It's too far from like creating your piece of content, your organic piece, from like seeing a sale in
exactly.
It's too far. Instead of like doing an ads, paying something, and then you have a CTA to buy your product directly.
Exactly.
But I don't believe in like easy things. Like you spend $1 and you get $2 in rewards. Like everyone can do ads tomorrow, but who can do content and good piece of content? It's much harder. And I think like rewards the people who do hard things, not easy things. Like if everyone was doing content, was doing like ads, like that's why ads are not working for a lot of business. It's really hard to be profitable on ads. Does ads work for your business? Did you try?
Yeah, so it's a long story, but my ads only started to work. And when I say work, is being ROI positive, meaning I put $1 and get $2 back, $3, whatever. My ads only started to work once I truly understood my target audience pain and then shifted the scripts accordingly. And the best ad to this day that works for my online coaching business is a 7-minute long ad.
Interesting. So it comes with the same framework again, like asking your audience what are their pains and doing some content about their pains and selling it either on ads or either on organic content. But
Yeah.
For us, like for example, at Magic, we start without doing ads at all because it was not profitable.
So how did you get to your clients?
By organic content, giving them values, creating content on short form. We were doing short form. We get our first 1,000 customers by just creating content on TikTok and Instagram for free.
Wow,
and that's the same for a lot of. I have so many users that have this kind of stories. It's incredible. And then when the brand starts being bigger, awareness and stuff like that, and working on like nice script about the ads, working with people like you as well about like how we can build nice ads and how we can say some stuff that converts really well. Then we start seeing some results. But after a long time, we had to build this brand first.
You know, what you're saying is so true, because once I started going into ads, my whole focus was why the ads don't work. And it's a never-ending question, and you're doing always...
Attribution, your conversion rate, like your flow is not good. Bullshit.
And it's one thing to improve something that works. It's another thing trying to fix something that doesn't work. Because it costs you a lot of money when you're spending money on ads. I was spending $2,000 a day.
Wow.
On ads.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Wow.
And when you're losing so much money and you're not profitable, it puts you psychologically in a bad place.
Yeah.
Creativity goes out the door. You don't really make good decisions. It's just a spiral. And now I can tell you that almost all of my clients who run ads, I now look at it differently. I know that once they start making content, the CPAs, the cost of acquisitions from the ads will go down dramatically because the trust goes up. Everything's about trust when it comes to sales. Every freaking thing. Because again, if your mom had to sell you something, CPA will be 0, right?
Yeah.
Because you just trust her.
So it's a mix of doing a lot of things. What we learn is that doing great marketing, great distribution for any business, it's a mix of different pieces of content. Organic, and then you can do some paid, and then you have to be everywhere to build this trust. And when the trust is built, the cost will lower down, and then you will probably be able
everything will be lower. Not just the costs, the friction and objections in the sales process, if it's a manual sales process or automatic, everything goes down. So the conversion rate on your website, how do you call it? The bounce rate, whatever it is, the conversions on the sales calls, the follow-ups, engagement, everything just becomes smoother. So if I need to look and let's say think about content in a way, it's kind of like putting oil in the sales machine, freaking good oil. How can I make my brand being perceived as my customer's mom?
We're gonna end on that. I think it's a good podcast. Anything you want to add before we stop here?
No, thank you for having me. I think what you're doing with Submagic is what a lot of businesses don't do. You walk the talk. You actually do what you're selling, which so many other businesses don't do.
Eat your own food.
Yeah, and I think it's such a great thing you're doing, and I've no doubt that you guys, because you're doing what you're telling people to do, you will improve the product to be the best in the market.
That's so cool. Thank you very much, Aviv.
Thank you, my man.
And maybe we'll be able to do another episode if like we have other questions or other things. I think there are so many topics to talk about.
Yeah, feel free. We can talk forever.
Okay, thank you very much.
Man, thank you.